That was a crazy winter.
Yeah. You at that point were driving a bowling shoe.
I was
in the midst of a horrific crumbling marriage.
Yeah, I sure was.
Remember that time?
I sure was, and thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
Yes. Remember, kids, if you want your marriage to fail, send me $29.95 and I'll send you a copy of my book, How to Destroy a 25-Year Marriage.
I thought you were going to say buy bowling shoes. I wasn't quite following.
Everybody hates bowling shoes. That was the last straw. That's the one that said, I'm out of here.
I cannot take your bowling shoes.
Yeah. I cannot take
anymore. This is it. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's time for Rock and Roll, the podcast, with Dr. Nick Redbone, Tom Nelson, and me. Today's show brought to you in part by
The Muffin. It's cake, but it isn't, and that's why you can have it for breakfast.
Hi, everybody. I am Dr. Nick Redbone. By the way, his name is Brock Johnson. And, dude, the muffin reference? Just muffin.
I was looking at Brock, and for a minute there, he was like, okay.
No, I got it.
No. I'm just confused in general.
Oh, okay.
Just the concept that it was the concept of the muffin that brings you the podcast today. That's fantastic.
I love muffins.
Someday we'd like a real sponsor, but until then, he's just going to make shit up. Yeah. By the way, Brock never names himself in the intro, and that's fine. I mean, I think that's cute.
Yeah.
But you are Brock Johnson.
That is me.
And we do point at your crotch later in the broadcast.
We do. And
in the
this
podcast.
week, it should actually be clickable.
That's fantastic.
Because we talked last week about clicking the crotch,
and
but
we
then
never
I
got
couldn't figure out how to make the clickable crotch.
Did you have your kid show you how to do it?
Well, almost. A 12-year-old YouTuber. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. That's the fact.
I am so old.
Oh, man.
He did not hit that puberty level yet.
Okay.
Still talking like a girl, but
Gotcha.
knew exactly what he was doing.
Fantastic. And by the way, great observation, Tom. You know what? You are old.
Yeah.
But you know what? That's what makes this cool because, and it's even in the promo we're running on the radio stations, we are a 70s kid, an 80s kid, and a 90s kid.
Yep.
And all of us with radio experience and or music business experience. So it's really kind of cool.
And don't sell yourself short, Tom. You're a tremendous slouch.
But remember, Tom,
Caddyshack.
Above all, you're super old.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Oh, he put his back out. I hate it when he does nothing and he
Pull my back
exerts,
out.
and he exerts everything.
My face just changed.
Okay, so
Off to a great start. Here we are.
So today's topic is the ladies of rock.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we could do, I think in this one, because if we don't limit it to rock, hard rock, or, we're going to end up with the phone book because Motown was so far ahead of the curve and blues and soul and everything. The ladies took, the Supremes happened, a long time ago. Those gender walls got knocked down. But man, rock and roll is such a boys' club. Yeah. And I mean, I think it's changing a little bit, but not much.
The girls that you meet in rock are members of the boys' club, though. I mean, it's kind of weird. They become like the dudes.
Yeah, they kind of have to jump in to play the game, really.
Yeah, and these names that we're going to end up dropping are, I'm sure a lot of them at the forefront of this. I mean,
absolutely,
when it was a big splash. I mean, a strong woman in rock and roll today, of course, is very noticeable.
Right.
But not the impact that,
Exactly.
should we name drop? Should we start?
I think that's
Janis Joplin.
See, now Janis Joplin, you went back even further than I would have, but you're 100% right. Janis could outdrink the guys. I mean, she jumped right into that boys' club.
Mm-hmm. Southern Comfort was her beverage of choice.
Ooh, the SoCo.
She didn't mess around. I've got SoCo stories, but time prohibits me and maybe some laws from mentioning them here.
Remember, it's booze that tastes kind of like peaches. Southern Comfort.
There's nothing peach about Southern Comfort.
It's kind of peachy.
It's
supposed to taste like peaches.
And it will burn, any hair off your body.
It's a lot like Keystone Light, though, in that the first few are, then you get there.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Do you?
Oh, yeah.
Is there a zone you reach on Keystone?
Absolutely.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
I think my tolerance for
Keystone Ice, especially
Oh,
Keystone Ice.
no. Remember, Keystone. It tastes like beer in a bottle due to the specially lined can.
No, wait, when we had no money to spend,
Sure.
we would get like a sixer of something good back then, and still today for me, because I'm pathetic, is like a Bud Light.
Okay.
And I know you're a beer guy, and you're a beer guy.
Oh,
I'm just not a beer guy. I'm
You know,
sorry.
I like it to be cold, but I do remember in college one time, being a poor college kid, it's like, well, who do we get, guys? Let's scrape it together. And, all we had was enough money to get like actual generic beer. It was in a white can
It said beer.
with a black label. Yeah, it said beer, and we couldn't do it. It's like Hams was more expensive.
Hey, you know
than
what?
this stuff.
I want to push the boundaries right now. I want to push the boundaries of the technology we have available.
Yeah.
Brock, can you in here somewhere in this discussion?
Yeah.
Can you drop in a can of generic beer so we can see it?
Oh, without question.
Okay.
I don't know where it'll be, so everybody point in a different direction, and one of us will be right.
I was pointing the same
I'm going to
direction.
point in my mouth.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a bad screen cap,
Yes,
bro.
I take that
That's
back.
a
I take
bad
that back. I
screen
take that
cap.
back.
Yeah.
I'll even put a ding on top of it.
So,
Ding! And
so
there appears the beer.
So Janis Joplin.
So Janis
Yeah,
Joplin.
I mean,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
talk about, women at that point in time were rock and roll singers, or just women singers in general. Were just so buttoned down and
Right.
conservative. And she comes out, and definitely a product of her time.
No question.
The 60s, but comes out, just blowing everything up, so eruptive on stage,
Yep.
and her rawness of her vocals, and then that whole hippie look she had.
Uh-huh.
So on multiple levels, multiple fronts, just kind of blew the quintessential, up to that time, female singer out of the water.
I think you're right. I think she really did kind of lay the foundation. She was the one who said, you don't have to come up and be, one of the Lennon sisters. I mean, you don't have to be in the dress and coiffed. You can come up and kick just as much ass and then spit, off the stage between songs, just like the rest, just like the guys, because why the hell not?
Yeah.
I think that women in the business, and now not as much, but still there, I think they have to put up with twice as much, 3 times as much, 5 times as much bullshit as the guys ever do.
Easily 5 at least. Yeah.
They've got sleazy guys. First of all, guys, if they're cute at all, guys all over them. If they're not cute but talented, they have to jump over that hurdle too, because they have to be, they're held to a different standard than the guys in the business. The guys still, to a certain extent, have to be, or they look for them to be somewhat attractive. But ugly guys could get signed forever. Ugly girls still can't get signed, and that's sad.
Yeah,
I mean,
and it's very true.
I don't know, and I'm not going to name names because that would be horrific of me.
Right.
But there are quite a few just in the last few years who are almost running on that platform.
Okay.
Look, I don't have to be the Barbie doll, and
Sure.
love them or hate them.
Okay.
They're a movement.
But let me ask, in that movement, do they have to be lesbians? Because that's, and I realize I'm kind of jumping out there, but it's true. The ladies that come out and don't try to play up, that are trying to avoid doing the pretty girl thing, end up having to go, well, I'm gay. And they get, there's
there's a lot of them that I'm thinking of in my head.
because I'm
right now
thinking
that-
like OTEP, Shemaya, she is.
I guess if we're specific to rock.
Yep.
Yes,
Yeah.
sure.
Exactly.
But if you look at the industry as a whole, where and during the week I'm paying just as much attention to what's happening on rock charts as I am on pop charts.
Right.
And there are quite a few artists in pop right now who have kind of broken through as these women who are powerful and they have a message and they get on stage and they're like, look, I look like I look.
Right.
The end.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now I'm going to go crank out a number 1.
What examples would you give?
Well, let's take Lizzo for example.
Okay, but we're staying in rock and roll.
That's what I said. I mean, outside of
Okay,
rock,
I got you.
I see what you're saying. In
Yep.
rock, yeah, because just thinking about the few that come to mind right away, you're right.
Yeah.
That's usually what happens.
Yeah. No, I would agree. Pop music's been a completely different thing. Madonna was the one who kicked in the door and said, guess what? New game.
Yeah.
And lots of people.
Yeah.
It was her, and I would even say Cyndi Lauper, because you got the straight up straight performer, pure rock star, Madonna, and you had the quirky but deep writing songwriter in Cyndi Lauper.
Yeah.
And they opened doors through in the 80s for sure. But in rock is still so much a jockstrap hanging on the doorknob vibe, you know?
Yeah.
And they've been groupie munching cokeheads forever.
Well, look at the story that came out, and I
Groupie munching cokeheads.
It was very nice.
That was good.
They launched
Look for the T-shirt
for the win.
They launched an investigation. The investigation came back, and well, it didn't happen. This was a fabricated story, whatever. But this is legitimate. That business, the story that came out about the Killers here like 10 years ago, where there was a woman who came out and said, "Look, I was working on their crew for a while, and here's what I overheard." And they had a room set up at a venue where the Killers were playing, and the production manager or whoever it was had found this. I guess she was like a drunk woman or something,
right?
And put her in this room, and that was. Everybody took a turn.
Oh no!
Yeah, I mean, but I mean, that's the kind of business that we're working with.
That's it. And there's
it's that gross.
It is
and
gross.
Again, that investigation came out and said that story isn't true, but that story came from somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. And the unfortunate thing, by the way, if you could hear that was a cameo by the cartoon character who works upstairs.
I'm guessing what happened is he just realized you turned off the AC.
Okay.
I can almost guarantee you.
I thought it was Angus Young.
Or Angus Young.
Or
He was busting out some AC/DC. Did you hear that?
Oh, that's his. I didn't know that was singing. I thought he was throwing it. You can't tell the difference.
It was something. We're not sure what.
that's what we get for recording this in a radio station.
If you want to see a couple excerpts from what just happened, but on the next level, Facebook.com/Radio Brock, because I've secretly recorded him doing things like that twice in the last 7 days and posted it on my Facebook.
That's so fantastic.
I just wanted folks to a glimpse. There was once where he was yelling echo into a microphone that was echoing back at him.
Did it turn into an argument?
Yeah, please do. And then I think the other one was just some bizarre opera singing in Spanish or something.
Good, I'm glad you have it.
Yeah, Facebook.com/Radio Brock.
Okay. So yeah,
I don't know how that happened, and I'm sorry. Oh, because Angus Young.
Because the rock and roll business is and has been kind of dirty and gross for forever, and on multiple levels. So the women that break through really are an extraordinary level of ass kicker because they have to deal with all of the boys club nonsense and the abuse and the weird sexual hangups that a lot of these cats have, and they have to be able to draw. They have to be able to put a band together. They have to be able to put asses in seats that everybody else has to do. They have to deal with the life of touring and trying to get played and trying all the promo and dealing with dumbass radio guys.
Right.
So
especially those guys.
I have a lot, and the cool thing is though, when the ladies do make it through, the guys in the bands are the ones that will give them credit. You know what I mean? Yeah. You'll see the guys that are out on the road, the other bands will be the ones that go, oh yeah, because they get it. I think because they're in the same zoo as they are.
Yeah.
Yep.
The one that and I don't think we're going to find any better answer as far as I'm concerned. Joan Jett.
Yep.
Yeah.
Isn't she kind of the ultimate rock and roll badass, male or female? She's the female Lemmy.
She's not the only one, but that's on top of mind awareness.
Universally
right there, really.
respected by everybody.
Yeah.
Inside the business, outside the business. She started off she was 16 when the Runaways first happened.
Yeah.
She was in that band with Lita Ford, who also went off and not as successful as Joan, but did a fine job and is still out on the road doing stuff. But Joan, I think, did it in addition to being female, and she was still in the period where she had to at least look like she was trying to appeal to guys. She is gay. So that was, there was a lot loaded up onto her plate, and you know how she kicked its ass. She got a Les Paul Jr., and she sang "I Love Rock and Roll," and she'd curl her lip up and sneer and spit, and Billy Idol was ripping her off. You know what I mean?
Well, that's true. That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, she exemplified that gunslinger, rock and roll, punk rock, middle finger vibe.
She took the quintessential guy rock thing and made it her own.
Yeah.
In female form.
And didn't soften it at all.
Yeah.
The edges were still there. So, I mean, that's one that you have to take your hat off to.
Yeah.
The other two, Heart, we got to talk about Heart, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
They started off in the early 70s and are still doing stuff today. And I know for a fact, I think I saw it was Ann being interviewed, and she said, they saw some of the first promo when the first album came out. Some of the first magazine write-ups and whatnot. And the labels put the write-ups together because that's part of the promo package, the release package. Yeah. So the photos and then like the headline implied that they were like sisters and lovers and all. I mean, so friggin' weird.
Anything to sell those records.
And that kills me. And they're just trying to get, horny, pimply-faced dudes who were trying to pick up Rolling Stone to see an article about Led Zeppelin. Oh, look, there's two hot chicks. They're sisters. And they get it. What the actual? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I almost dropped the first F-bomb of rock and roll, the podcast.
Missed it by that much.
Missed it by that much.
But heavy hitters. I mean,
oh my God.
And what's funny about both of them? Their voices sound similar. They're not.
Right.
Nancy's is more wispy and stuff, and you get that crystal, loud, just piercing sound of Ann. It's just kind of weird how. I mean, can you think of anybody else in rock and roll that? Well, they're not related and have similar voices, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not even related, but have in the same group have similar voices. I mean,
not like that.
It's just kind of weird.
Yeah, they can bring because of
that.
I
was trying to think of the name of the band. Haim is a sister band, and they do that too.
Yep, that's
and
right.
Their harmonies are that incredible because they're all that. It's all from the same gene pool.
Yeah. Who else? Now we're going to get off onto that tangent because I've thought about that forever. The best harmonies I've ever heard come out of like brother bands or sister bands in country music. Statler Brothers. Yeah. Listen to the Statler Brothers do their thing. You know what I mean? The for some reason it's like same gene pool and their voices are just close enough that it sounds like an organ. Yeah.
It's perfection.
Heart brought that was when I was talking about how universally respected artists can,
how many times are you going to try?
That's the second time the phone's down. It can stay.
I think I was doing that in the third podcast.
You did.
No.
We should make it a drinking game. Every time one of us drops something, drink. Heart's one of those bands that is universally respected. Ann Wilson's voice is like the seventh wonder of the world. She still does everything now that she could do 30, 40 years ago. And
Powerhouse.
God. And I remember hearing her once again, and I hate to keep harping on this, but it's the truth, and you don't have to agree if you don't want to. The nonsense they had to go through, first of all, in the 70s, yes. But then the 80s, they had their glam period. There was like a renaissance of Heart. They put out a couple of records that really kind of got MTV's attention, got radio's attention again, and they were back out playing the big shows. And this was when Ann started to put on weight. Ann is just kind of destined to be a bigger lady. And she had fought it. A drug habit helped. And when she decided to maybe be healthy, getting clean, she put on a lot of weight. And so MTV, it wasn't MTV, it was the labels doing it. They would shoot her. They would just shoot and go back and look at any Heart videos from the 80s. They'll shoot close-ups, they'll shoot headshots, but any body shots are Nancy playing guitar.
Yeah.
And Ann even heard a record guy say, "You're the face, dear. She's the ass."
Wow. Yeah.
No guy had to put up with that. Maybe a guy here or there. Right. But that kind of just systemic bullshit in the business, once again, the ladies are ferocious. The ones that make it to the top, God help you, man. Yeah. You know what I mean? If you tangle with one of them. You
have moxie.
Yeah.
You have to.
Yeah, those girls are pit fighters by the time they get to make it to the top of the game for sure. And Heart totally did.
Yeah.
And then when you see them do things like this girl band, right? That's how they would have been classified. This girl band, when Led Zeppelin got their White House honors, that Kennedy honors thing, what band did they ask to come do Stairway to Heaven in front of the president and Led Zeppelin? It was Heart.
And one of my favorite videos, and they have always played, they've got, I think, some albums that they have Zeppelin covers on.
Yeah, they love Zeppelin.
They are big Zeppelin fans.
And they kill it.
You have to see that Kennedy Center honors cut.
The Stairway to Heaven.
Oh.
Robert Plant brought Robert Plant to tears.
Yeah.
Wow.
Insane.
See, this is an education for me.
Well, and we're going to get to, because it didn't stop in the 70s and it didn't stop in the 80s. The heavy hitters from the 80s, for sure, in rock were, for the ladies, I've got to say Joan Jett. I've got to say Heart again. I mean, they moved into that decade. But we also had bands that were still playing guitars. They were playing their own guitars and singing their own songs that were a little bit poppier. But the two that come to mind, the Bangles and the Go-Go's.
Yeah.
Okay, the Go-Go's started off as a punk band. Those four girls, straight punk. And as a matter of fact,
I like punk rocky Go-Go's.
Yeah, me too. And as a matter of fact, there was some videotapes were shot, like when they were on the road, and they were as poorly behaved as the boys.
There's some urban legends with those guys,
they too were groupie munching cokeheads. But yeah, very punk rock. And I want to make this statement for sure. This has to be on record. The Go-Go's are the first all-girl group that had a #1 hit, and they still are not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pathetic.
In the business, that's what we like to call bullshit.
The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, I've yet to understand it. What goes into those decisions? Who is on that board? Because there's some bands that absolutely deserve to be there that are there, but then there's other bands that are members of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and when you really think about their impact, especially on rock and roll,
haven't really.
Why are they here?
There's a lot of no names have gotten through, and it's almost like, well, Rolling Stone magazine thought they were hip for a minute, so they made it into they made the cut, and that's a bummer.
But I wonder does anybody even really care anymore? Not only the artists that are not nominated, but people in general. At first it was cool, like the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but now everyone knows it's just bullshit.
Yeah,
it's just really kind of a big party that happens once a year. That's fun to watch because it's all collaboration when they do the induction ceremony.
But past that,
you're right. I don't know that anybody can.
And once again, we should just call this episode Tangents. I always like to see the artists turn on the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame while they're involved in the process of going in. Steve Miller, man, he did press right after the ceremony and the concert that honored him and put him in. He said, "Oh, this whole thing's bullshit." Yeah. They charged us $10,000 per extra person we wanted to bring. I gotta pay, and you're putting me in your Hall of Fame. You should be paying me to be here.
Wow. I forgot.
He lit them on fire, man. Levon Helm, when they were going to put him in, he just said to hell with it, and he didn't go. He just go ahead and put the band in. It's all horse shit anyway.
That's awesome.
Oh God,
Levon
man.
Helm.
So anyway, the where were we? Oh yeah, the Go-Go's.
Yeah,
the Go-Go. You know what? Wouldn't these be fun if we drank?
We should start drinking at work.
Twist our arm.
Now, we can't drink at work, obviously, but what we could do is do one of these down with your good friend Shane at Kodo.
Yes, we could. We might have to take this show on the road. That was just a little. If you weren't watching on YouTube, you missed my hand gestures.
Totally missed it. I missed a hand gesture too. I was 2 seconds too late. I didn't get my hand in on that one.
That's okay.
Yeah,
that's okay. Later, we'll be clicking on your crotch.
Okay, who hasn't?
So
I don't know.
Okay, so moving into the 90s, and another one. This one feels a little bit more manufactured because there are, and I don't want to say this. There are a bunch of artists that are straight up manufactured. It's the look or corporate, a study.
You're about to say the Donnas.
No, I'm about to say no. Okay. I'm going to say Avril Lavigne.
Oh yeah, duh.
Now she was a cool example.
She was built in a lab.
Yes,
I mean
she was built in a what am I looking for? In a test group. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Samples were taken. They said, well, she really appealed to females 17 to 25. That kind of thing.
Well, and there's
focus group. That's what I was looking for.
There's that whole debate too, where you get into legit music heads, and you're like, well, you can't appreciate that. That's a bunch of sellout garbage.
Right.
That's not true.
Exactly.
I appreciate legitimate talent, and I appreciate manufactured talent.
I can appreciate
for
it
two
too.
different reasons, because the amount of production and thought that has to go into creating an Avril Lavigne is unbelievable. There is still genuine art at work.
For sure, but it's behind the scenes. It's the guys at the it's got those guys at the mixing boards. It's the engineers. It's the producers that are bringing in the talent to play the sessions, to do the absolutely.
If you
a good song is a good song is a good song.
Yeah.
Right. And if
that's the rule.
Yep.
If you look at, let's take the last 5 years of albums that have gone number one. I bet you could count the number of producers on those projects on like one hand.
Oh, for sure.
Because there's so much behind the scenes and so when you leave it all in the producer's hands, like in case with Avril Lavigne, it's still cool. It's just a different cool.
Right.
So I catch hell all the time from music nerds for, that's garbage. Well, yeah, but here's why I love listening to it.
Yeah, exactly.
I know what you're saying, but
right.
I'm not a big 90s kind of guy. It's just the way it happens to be, because as we pointed out earlier, I'm old. So what about someone like, would Fiona Apple fall into that category as far as you're concerned, like Avril Lavigne?
I think Fiona Apple is legit.
I think she is too.
She is 145%.
Yeah, she's old. She's too weird to be mainstream. Yeah, she really. They tried.
She had a hit. She made her money and she went away, but you know what? She's still doing stuff today. And the people that want to work with her are guys like Bob Dylan's kid and Julian Lennon, and I mean she works with some of the heavy hitters. Was Jacob Dylan your first example of heavy hitter?
Dude, he has cred. He's still writing stuff behind the scenes. He does.
He's a wallflower.
Ooh. Okay, you know what? Anybody that watches this, here's a question. Does Jacob Dylan have any cred?
Well, now here's...
Like and subscribe and leave a comment below.
Here's what's going to happen is that after this podcast, I'm going to go Google it because I'll be thinking about it until then. And then I'm going to find out that Jacob Dylan is one of those guys that I was just talking about who's manufacturing the hits today and getting the last laugh.
He's a hologram.
Tim Pagnota, he was in a band called Sugar Cult, which was very much pop punk. And I knew those guys, and that was not manufactured, but they knew they were a product.
Okay.
They knew they were the pretty boys on stage trying to do their thing.
Right.
So they just kind of go away because I can't remember if they got in like right as the pop punk thing was kind of fading or what, but they got on like an American Pie soundtrack and they had marginally successful charting with a song or two, and then they just kind of went away. Well, then you find out 15 years later, Neon Trees, who has been out with number one hit after number one hit, that's Tim Pagnota from Sugar Cult.
Oh, wow.
Who's now fatter than hell because he doesn't have to care. But I bet Jacob Dylan is in a lab right now writing the next hit while eating a double bacon cheeseburger.
And not gaining weight.
So if you'd like to comment, please do like and subscribe. Well, it's because he's a hologram, right? Yeah, because he's not
Jacob Dylan the hologram.
Jacob Dylan is a hologram. I think if we've learned anything, we've learned that he's a hologram. Okay, then let's talk about the girl groups getting us all the way back to tangents. I want you to tell me who your favorite female artist is. Female rock artist.
Boy, I don't know that I can pick a favorite.
Is it from Ashes to New?
If I had to, no. I would have to say Lizzie Hale from Hailstorm.
Okay, Lizzie Hale is a great example of...
and I don't want to single anybody out. There's Mixie from Stitched Up Heart.
Absolutely.
Who is just badass.
Yes, she is.
But then the sweetest girl you'll ever meet, too.
Yeah, exactly.
There's Taylor Momsen from The Pretty Reckless, who has evolved. It's like she was actress as a child and was Cindy Lou Who in Seuss.
Yep.
Then she got early into rock and decided that she was going to be naked for, and now like when they release music, it's just fun to listen to her age.
Oh my gosh,
she's grown up in the business.
Yeah, and she kind of digs she's got a song out right now. The current single we're spinning by her, "Death by Rock and Roll," and it's straight up. She gets it, Somewhere Keith Richards, he just got tingles and he went, I kind of like that. I don't even know what it is. He's not heard the song, but he's aware of it.
Yeah,
right. That's great. That's right. Another great example, and this is kind of on the fringe. There's a band called Arch Enemy, and they've had 2 female lead singers. Arch Enemy is like melodic. not death metal, but it's growl metal. I mean, and it's two women that have led that band doing those vocals. That takes heavy metal, speed metal, death metal, thrash metal.
Look at the Butcher Babies.
Yeah, exactly.
They're doing the same thing.
That's even taken that men's club to a whole new level.
Yes.
Spikes.
Frightening.
It's terrifying. Those bands, you don't put them on tour for cash. You feed them meat. You know what I mean? And the fans, my God, the fans. Hey, we found another limb. Feed it to the bass player. So check those guys out on stage. And those ladies are every bit the showman that the guys are, every bit the entertainer, and just as ferocious vocally as any of the other guys on the bill, playing these huge open air shows at Wacken and over in Europe. Yeah. So it's good to know that the ladies are there and that they're still representing. And I hope that it continues. I hope that
I think it will.
I hope
Jim, don't you?
I've always said that there's a new kid discovers an electric guitar and moves his amp out to the garage. It happens every day. There's that new 14-year-old who discovers it and loves it and wants to do it. Mm-hmm. I just hope that there are as many girls trying it as there are guys, because half as many of them will get in as the guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, here's a question. Is it getting easier for them?
Hopefully.
But do we know?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't have a degree in that.
If we've missed any artists...
I could call the guy.
My degree is in debauchery. I'm sorry. I can't help you. I don't know anything. Let me have a drink.
I don't know anything, and sometimes I get cold. I'll turn off the air conditioning until I'm good and goddamn ready to turn it on. And that, my friends, was Rock and Roll, the podcast. Now, here we have some special instructions. If you're watching on YouTube, pretty please, want you to leave a comment below. I want you to click like, and I want you to subscribe by clicking this button. Okay. If you're listening on Spotify, pretty please, with sugar on top, subscribe, and please share it with a friend. We want this to grow. We want you to be part of it. And if you would like to be the actual sponsor that Tom says while I'm going, pretty please, with sugar on top, let us know, and we will make that happen for you. And I think that's it until next time. My name's Dr. Nick. That's Brock. That's Tom. That was Rock and Roll, the podcast. Peace, love, and rock and roll. We're out.